Good morning, dear students of class 12. Welcome to this English online class. Today we are going to take up the Rattrap lessons overview part 2, the Rattrap by Selma Legenoff. Now, if we look at the theme of this lesson, the story Rattrap upholds the belief that the essential goodness of a human being can be awakened through love and understanding. We see in this lesson the peddler who had a very negative view of this world had earlier met, in the lesson it is referred, the crofter, the old crofter, who tried to share his confidences, treat him with respect as an honored guest, was a perfect host for the peddler, but then there was a reason why he was good to him. The reason was that the crofter was himself suffering from loneliness, and he was too happy to have a guest that night in his house. In return, the peddler betrayed the trust of the crofter by robbing him of his 30 kronas. The ironmaster showed kindness to him because he mistook him as his friend, Niels Olof. But when he came to know his true identity, he got angry and he decided to hand him over to the sheriff, and he wanted to shoo him out of the house. But it was Edna who convinced her father to let the peddler stay in the house and treated him with love, with kindness. It was because of love and understanding which Edna showed, we find towards the end the Rattrap peddler is a transformed person. So the story brings into focus the idea that the world is a rat trap. Riches, joys, shelter and food are lucrative baits to trap mankind. But there is love and understanding which helps a man to show his essential goodness of a human being. And this is what Edna did by showing her trust, her love, faith and understanding towards the peddler. Now, if we look at the title of this lesson, the rat trap is a metaphor to highlight the human predicament. Just as a rat is fooled by a bait and gets trapped, most of the human beings are likely to fall into the trap of material benefits. So, man has to be aware. Once a man falls into this trap, that is his end. If we look at the characters in this story, there is the protagonist, a peddler who sells rat traps, an old man, crofter, master blacksmith in Ramjo's iron mill in Sweden. Then there are helpers in the mill, blacksmiths, the master smith and helpers in the mill, they are secondary characters. Then the iron mill owner, and another major character is Edna Williamson, daughter of the iron mill owner. Now, if you look at the character of the old crofter, a crofter is somebody who rented a small farm with a plot of land and living in a house on it, a tenant farmer who paid his tenancy with manpower instead of cash. So here this crofter who had earlier worked in the Ramjo's ironworks was now earning money by selling the milk of cows. Now, old crofter was lonely without wife, children. He welcomed the Rattrap seller. He shared his supper of porridge, shared tobacco, played majoles. He also shared his confidences, secrets. He told the peddler that he was supported by his cow, and only last month he got 30 kroners from the creamery. And he also showed his guest where he had kept the money. The ironmaster, owner of Ramjo's Iron Works, rich, ambitious of his business interests, kind-hearted, friendly. He was earlier in the military. He was not very observant, not a good judge of people. When he mistakes the peddler for his old friend, he decides to help him. He takes him as his friend, Niels Olof. But when he realized his mistake, he got angry at the old man, at the poor man, the poor peddler. He wanted to hand him over to the sheriff. Nevertheless, on his daughter's request, he changed his decision. Then there is Edna Williamson. She's not at all pretty, but she's modest, quite shy, exceptionally kind, wise, perceptive. She's observant. She's a great judge of human character. She displays maturity and grace. She's kind, gentle, and hospitable. We see, despite her knowledge about the peddler's intention, she treats him with respect and feeds him very well. She feels that it was unethical to send a guest away as he had been promised Christmas cheer, and she raises a genuine argument which convinces her father to let the peddler stay. It was because of Edna's kind treatment the peddler was able to rise to the level of captain, leaving his temptations aside because he did not want to let her down. She is able to awaken the goodness in the peddler's heart by showing her understanding and love. Her kindness, caring nature transformed the unscrupulous vagabond into a good human being. She is the most positive figure in the story, and her compassion and generosity are the reason for peddler's transformation. The peddler is not transformed because of his meeting the crofter, the kindness that crofter showed towards him, the ironmaster who mistakes him to be his friend, but in the end when he meets Edna, he is transformed because of her compassion and generosity. Then there is a rat-trap peddler. Rat-trap, as discussed earlier, is a metaphor to highlight human predicament. Just as a rat is fooled by bait and gets trapped, most human beings are also likely to fall into the trap of materialistic benefit. And the same happens to this peddler also. He is a poor vagabond, wearing shabby, ragged clothes. He sells rat traps to earn a very meager livelihood. At times, he resorts to petty thefts. He considered the entire world as a big rat trap, and all men, women as rats, vulnerable to be trapped by various types of baits. And he philosophizes people's existence in the rat trap, which gives him a sadistic pleasure. But he himself gets trapped into the rat trap one day when he stole 30 kroners of the profit. there is some goodness left in him, and that was brought to the surface by the kind treatment of Edna. And in the end, we find he is transformed because he returns the stolen money of the crofter through Edna. So he gives back what he gets, and he is now a changed person, what he was earlier, and in the end, he is a transformed, good human being. The conclusion, if we look at the conclusion in the lesson, which is the essence of this lesson, finally the bitter truth dawns on the hosts. The hosts are the ironmaster and Edna, as they come to know that the peddler whom they had kept in the house as an honored guest on Edla's request, he has robbed the crofter of 30 kronas. They came to know when they were attending the church service. Now Edna is downcast when she learns that the peddler is a thief. And father also fears that their expensive things, the silverwares, would now be no more in the house. But when they reach the house, they come to know through the guard that the peddler had already left, and he has not taken anything with him. In fact, he has left a gift for Edna. And when Edna opens this gift, there's a rat trap as a gift, the 310 kronas, which he had mentioned in the letter that Edna should return to the crofter. And he had thanked Edna for bringing a change in him and had signed himself as Captain Wonstein. So the tramp undergoes a change of heart after experiencing Edna's kindness, and he returns the stolen money and writes a letter to her thanking her for helping him escape the rat trap. In the end of this letter, he is signed Captain Wonstein. He attains nobility of spirit and becomes Captain Wonstein. So the story ends with his victory of human kindness. So we stop here. Now we have taken up the text and overview of this lesson. You have been provided with the resource material. Make sure that you go through all this and bring up your doubts in the Google Meet class or in your WhatsApp group. Thank you.